season ever!
Today we're going to be talking about technically the fourth movie in the pre-Age X-Men series, X-Men Origins Wolverine. I don't really know how this movie would work out in the actual timeline for all of these X-Men movies, but I guess technically it would probably be the first if you don't include X-Men First Class. I don't really know. They really messed all of that shit up.
Yeah.
Without getting into the overflowing negative that this film has going for it, I first want to put away my cynicisms and my nitpicks so I can first tell you all of the good things that this film has going for it. We weren't really in a particularly healthy place before the MCU came along with its blockbuster superhero movie. I would say in the early 2000s, there were actually more duds than actual gold hidden amongst the shit, with the exception of maybe Spider-Man. And with only the Fantastic Four showcasing what a superhero team up could look like at the time. But then came the X-Men, a familiar adaptation for fans to cling on to from their experiences with the comic and the highlight of the animation TV show. A group of mutants or people with mutated genes that give them the abilities to do everything under the sky. I would say because of this, X-Men Origins Wolverine was the way to go after the original X-Men trilogy that by the end was definitely a mixed bag of good and ugly and is soon to be retconned by our gods at Disney.
Yeah.
But for me, I would say the adaptation that Hugh Jackman brought to the character of Wolverine was keeping this franchise afloat, being very evident even now in the present, seeing how they try to force Wolverine in absolutely every X-Men movie.
Yeah.
Hugh Jackman brought serious dedication and passion to his role as Wolverine throughout his entire tenure as Wolverine, and is still evident in a movie like this, even when everything around him looks like a deer trying to get their walking lines. I'm not going to give you guys too much of a breakdown of this plot, seeing how for this one, the title of the movie pretty much just hits it on the nose. It's just an origin story for one of the most iconic characters in all of Marvel. But now I would say it's time to strap in and make sure your hands stay in the car, because otherwise I cannot guarantee your safety. I would easily say that X-Men Origins Wolverine was handled completely wrong, mostly because the movie got its origins completely wrong, and I've never understood this from film. I mean, don't get me wrong, I understand not cutting off the creativity from a studio or the writers that are trying to bring a film to life. I mean, that is hard work. But source material should surely be our greatest ally and strength, and not the reason why a film fails. Source material from either comic books or manga should be an easy stepping stone and guideline from which anybody can write from and take a part of. But this movie takes the liberty of throwing in new characters and storyline about a character's origin story.
Yeah.
Sabretooth is also a character that was completely mishandled. Or I guess I would say mishandled in a better way compared to what we got in the first X-Men movie, where the guy is basically a dog with the IQ of 4. I would say the Sabretooth character in this movie was definitely more appreciated, but honestly, I would just say it's the actor just acting his balls off in this movie that does not deserve it. He plays a character with attitude and grit, and like he has some massive weight on his shoulders ever since his split up with Wolverine at the beginning of the movie. But again, that could probably be written off to the actor playing the man. Sabretooth is written as our main personal antagonist for Wolverine, and yet he does absolutely nothing in the movie by his own character motivations. You barely even know his character motivations until the third act. He's just doing things in the movie at random just to keep the Wolverine character moving forward where we need him to be by the beginning of the first X-Men movie. Throughout the movie, you're not sure if he's actively trying to kill Logan or trying to bring him to a dark path. I guess that they were walking and used to be at his side at the beginning of the movie. The movie doesn't really even give you answers for that by the end of it. So what was Sabretooth's character doing? What was the point of it all? The other characters in this movie were just one-note fodder type characters. You have the cocky teacher's pets that's always ready to do what the boss man says without any questions asked, never knowing the situation that he's actually in because he is just a man following orders. The moral character that halfway through the film gives our character moral support and extending help on the path that Wolverine is going on because he has a connected history. The characters like Gambit and Deadpool, just to make sure that we got everybody in the theaters to see this movie, but we will get to that, believe me.
Yeah.
You also feel like you're watching multiple different movies play out at one time, but all at the same time, if that makes sense. This movie is strictly an origin story. What choices were made leading up to the eventual process of having the adamantium added to his skeleton frame. But in the second and third acts, it turns into a revenge, but also a redemption film. A man who is on revenge for his fallen wife, but also trying to redeem the things that he has done in his past by taking out the man in charge and freeing his kind. With all of those elements, they all sound like they could be incredible movies in their own right if you just chose one. The biggest example of this is that we have the opening credits showing Wolverine and Sabretooth fighting side by side with humans in their wars, events that would surely shape the man that we knew today. But it all goes back to having this film having to write events in just for Wolverine to get to the point that he is in at the beginning of the first X-Men film. And let me tell you, this is just another missed opportunity. With characters like Gambit and Deadpool being fan favorites at the time and even now, I understand how in the writing room it would seem like a good idea to put them in a movie where they are either teaming up or fighting with our character Wolverine. But again, that was another decision that was handled all wrong. The opening scene of Deadpool really showed us back then what Ryan Reynolds would eventually bring to the character in the present day, and it is evident how bad they fucked up when they were making jokes about it now, even in the new Deadpool films. It just goes back to the mishandling of the Sabretooth character with having to throw in a character that had absolutely no reason of being in the third act in the first place. Gambit was a character that was thrown into the movie for nothing but trailer footage at the time to entice the fans to come and watch, and then did absolutely nothing in the film except for exposition for our character and giving a ride for Wolverine to the third act location. With additional mishaps like terrible special effects and cliches that were out of style even at the time, this film was asking for every criticism that it got and is honestly, in my opinion, the main reason why the X-Men movies are simply so broken at this time. But with all of that being said, I would have to give this movie a D because let me tell you, after all of those words, I have still seen worse. Make sure you like and subscribe if you enjoyed the evil criticism of X-Men Origins Wolverine, and leave a comment on maybe when was the last time you saw this movie. Or better yet, what was the best X-Men movie that you have ever seen? Besides Logan, of course, because I know everybody in the comments will just put Logan and that is the correct answer, but I want to hear other ones. I guess for me, it would probably be either First Class or Days of Future Past, I guess I would say. But otherwise, thank you guys for watching my video and enjoy the rest of it, dear viewer.